Think we're live. Okay, I'm gonna zoom in on the face now because today we're gonna be working on the ear, the eye, and the nose. Okay, so I already put the gold leaf on. I already put all the gold leaf on the canvas. I wanted it. I'm gonna do a separate. I'm gonna do a separate video on how to use gold leaf and how I put it on my canvas. So it was very difficult to film. I tried and to record it, and especially if I wanted to do it live, because it involves several steps. But you can see it. You can see it over here. How the gold leaf starts joining the oil paint. Um, so I'm gonna do that in a separate video. But for now, I'm going to focus mainly on the eye, which is my focal point, and then the ear and the nose. And then work on the fur. I mean, start establishing and making the fur more prominent and defined. So I've been traveling, so I haven't been able to. I'm just getting back to my groove of things, and so I I need to. I feel like I need to warm up, warm up a little bit into painting. Here's my reference picture, and I want to see if I can get a little bit of better lighting on the face, maybe there. I don't want to get that reflection, the gold leaf reflection on camera so much. All right, that looks a little better. That looks a little better. I could even zoom in maybe on the eye. Yeah, maybe that'll be better. Hey, Karen. How are you? Okay. Hope you can hear me okay. I know you've been wanting to paint an animal, so here's the opportunity. All right. Okay, let me adjust this. All right. Well, let's start with the eye right there. Maybe I can turn it a little bit more. Okay. All right. Sorry for all that shakeup. It's there. You can see it. All right. So since the so a couple of things. Since the focal point of the lamp is the eye, I need to spend a good amount of time, or at least make it as attractive as possible. So it reflects what I wanted it to reflect. And perhaps that can be innocence, that perhaps that can be wisdom. Well, the image of the lamb, it's an archetypal image, and it's an old one. And it has so many different connotations. By the way, if you hear my dog barking, he's chasing squirrels today. All right, so I know that I'm gonna start with the pupil, and I'm using, I recently purchased this chromatic black. It's from Gambling. I think I have it here. Here, here's my chromatic black from Gambling. Okay, I don't know if you can see it well. Maybe I can focus there. Anyways, so this chromatic black is basically a mixture of PG36 and PV19, which is a Taylor Emerald and quinacridone red. So it's technically not it's not a black as in charcoal or lamp black or ivory black from charbones or anything like that. And I make my own blacks, but I wanted to try and test it and see if I can save time and work on this. So I've been very happy with the results. It doesn't make the colors muddy at all. So such an interesting pupils these animals have. They're horizontal. They're strange looking. I am only using here I gotta show you because my students will get a kick out of this. These are my favorite brushes of all time, and these are number twos. These are two number twos, long filberts, and they're not rosemary or anything like that, but they lasted me for a good while, and I've been able to keep them in good shape. So, all right. So I'm gonna make his eye. I'm gonna use some yellow ochre here. My brush is a little dirty, so I'm only using linseed oil for as medium, and I use it to clean my brush. All right, maybe a little bit of cadmium yellow and yellow ochre for the eye, just to get some color going here. And I know that right away, I see, especially because I create a contrast between the dark and this color. It just that edge, it's just so adds so much. It attracts the eye immediately to this point. So, and that's what I want. That's my goal. And I'm gonna also put highlights here. There. Okay, and maybe a little bit of a Indian red or English red here to make the gradation from dark to light. So I usually work darks first and then lights, but in this case, I think I can safely do it the opposite way and not get anything very muddy. So that's that. And if you notice this chromatic black, I don't know, it's probably hard to notice on camera, but it doesn't dirty the color as much. There. Or it doesn't get my yellow ochre doesn't get it very muddy, so that's pretty cool. I like that. And I'm gonna bring now the bottom of the eye right here because, oops, my light went off. Because my life has been going off just with for no reason. It's pretty strange. And I checked the cables and the wires, and so I don't know. I don't know what's going on. All right. Here so here, what I'm gonna do here, because I know the photograph you can't see, but I know that there's blood there. And since there's blood, I'll put some red in it. I'm gonna put some red right here. I know the photograph doesn't show it, but I know there is. So there. And that makes it different for the photograph. All right, put some red there. All right. And now the bottom eyelid, it's going to have some Indian red. I need to clean my brush now because it's full of black. So some Indian red, and it gets kind of pinkish here. There. Okay. I have a pretty steady hand. I know that some people have asked me how do I keep my hand so steady, and if okay, so if I don't rest my brush there, I think it's okay steady. You can see it moves a little bit, even though I've had 2 cups of coffee already. But once I rest the brush on the canvas, it's not going anywhere. I mean, I have my maul stick. Where's my maul stick? And I use it from time to time. Stick. I had it here somewhere. Oh, here it is. All right, so this is my maul stick, and it has a hook in the back. You see, so I can hang it and rest my hand. But I would only use this if I were to do small details like this, but I don't like to use my brush as if it was a pencil. I don't think that's the purpose of having a long handle. I think it's much better to be able to have more range with your brush when you grab it from the end. I think that's why they painted this end like this color. So that's how you paint it, but not like this. I mean, this is that's if you want to draw. And even still, when I want to draw, I don't draw like this. I draw like this. Anyways. Okay. So yes, you need a steady hand. But also, it also helps that I work with a larger size in this case. If I were to use working in a smaller size like a 12 by 16, I think it'll be more difficult to keep your hand steady, and I guess then I will resort to the maul stick, but not in this case. Look how the chromatic black, it just blends really well without dampening the color. Okay, so now I'm gonna switch brushes and I'm gonna use a more of a finer brush. And just to add, just to add some blood flow here. And it's gonna be very hard to see in the camera. But that's a little bit more red. And I do want to make this edge not too sharp. All right. And using the same brush with a more with a bit of a orange and white, make this area feel like it's a volume. There. And I think I can even put a small highlight here. I'm gonna carry it across. So that way it feels like it's wet and humid. There. Now, since I'm getting all adventurous here, I will do the same here. And this is not pure white, just so you know. There we go. It's not pure white. I'll show you the color. It's make sure that I had previously, and it's sort of like a it's Indian red with white and a bit of Naples yellow, and not that I want to be fancy or anything, but that was the color that I was using in a previous painting. And to me, as long as it's the right value, color really doesn't matter so much. It does matter, but it's not such that it doesn't have that much of an importance when you're painting, especially a small highlight like that. The eye will see it as its value. It won't pick up all the millions of colors that are out there in nature. All right. So here is I'm putting a little bit of this raw umber, and just a bit of raw umber, a little bit of Indian red, because I'm gonna work the fur. I use my light brush. Here, my light brush, my dark brush. So now with my light brush, I'm gonna make the first attempt to paint the fur, and this is going to be just white. Just white, maybe with a little bit of Naples yellow, not pure white. And just create some texture with the eyelid. Okay. I'm not sure if this is the color that I want to go for the fur. Maybe a little bit too yellow, but At the same time, I know that the sun, the light is hitting from this direction, so it should have some yellow. Because I wanted to give the feeling of an afternoon, a sunny afternoon. Let me bring this down. Just mute the tone down just a little bit. And maybe not so yellow. I'm gonna try to mute the yellow with a little bit of purple. All right, got some texture there. And in here, I'm gonna fade this. I'm gonna fade this color, this edge here. And that's right where it joins. Yeah. Okay. And I'm gonna go back with my mixture of raw umber and Indian yellow. Indian yellow, no, Indian red. Raw umber and Indian red. This will be the base for the fur, the shadow, if you will, of the fur. And it goes all the way up here. So I'm looking at it in the picture, see how dark it is here. I may exaggerate mine a little bit just to make more emphasis on it. And it's very, very transparent. It's almost like there's almost like no paint in it. Because I know that I'm gonna go on top of it, and since I'm painting this sort of like a la prima. All right, so it's a brownish base. It's gonna be a brownish type of shadow. And again, I'm not sure if this is the final color that I'm gonna use, but I'm gonna give it an attempt. So I'm mixing a little bit of Naples yellow and purple and white. And let's see if that's kind of like the color. What I like about that mixture is, maybe I'll show you. Let me see if I can move things around here a little bit. All right, so here's my Naples yellow and a purple, and that right in between I get this color, which is not warm, not cool. I can push it to the cools or I can push it to the warms, whatever I want. And I like that ambivalence of the color because I can play with it and I can shift it at will. So, and then I can create this fur that is easy to shift the color, the temperature of the color if I need to. I do want to put more paint here, and I'm basically just placing the paint. I'm not blending much, and I want to leave gaps in between so I can show the shadow underneath. So like so. And it's mixing into the shadow. I only loaded my brush once, if you notice. Maybe I'll put a little bit more. And this time, you know, maybe I could even use my palette knife. especially here for the highlight. All right, that's good enough texture, I think, for now. I mean, I could leave it like this, but we'll see. We'll see when I start developing the rest of the fur. It may call for more texture, so I may add more paint to it, which is probably what's gonna happen. But at least this is I'm keeping a good base here. And I know here's a highlight. See, right off the bat, the sun is hitting this part of the eye, and there's so much, like this is such pure black with the red alizarin that I put there, that it becomes a focal point right away. And just my eye just goes straight into it. And I will call that, this is almost, here I'm gonna put an almost pure white here with my palette knife. There. So, there we go. That's some texture there. Maybe I'll scratch some here. Okay. Okay, so far so good. It looks good. Looks good on camera too. All right, same procedure here. Brown umber and Indian red. Maybe a little more umber and less red. Just because I want the underneath layer to be on the cooler side. And back with that purple and Naples yellow mix. Dioxazine purple, whatever you say it. And that's it. That's it. I was gonna add more highlights there, but I think the value is enough. This is still gonna be my focal point right here. All right, overall pretty happy with it. Maybe I'll add a little bit more alizarin here. With a bit of cadmium orange. Yeah. There's some blood there. There's some red. There's life. Blood is life. Blood is life. Okay. Let's move on. I'm gonna leave that aside. Let's move on and to the nose. Or should I do the ear? Let's do the nose. I'm gonna move the camera now. This is by the way, a 24 by 30 canvas, so I think it's important to know that the nose is going to be roughly about 2 inches by 3 inches. So the size of my hand. It's a comfortable size to work. work with my favorite brushes without having to use those small little liners, and um, which I think makes it, when you're working too small, um, you may think that you're covering less area, so it will take you less time, but it's not necessarily the case. It's sometimes when it's too small, you end up working harder, um, just because of the sheer size and there. This is what I use to clean my brushes. I love this blue paper towels from, what are they called? From my um, they use them on body shops, and they absorb. They don't leave any residue. That no, there's nothing that gets into the brush from it, like hair or anything. Um, okay. All right. So let's attack the nose. We're going to go first, as usual, with the darks. In this case, I feel confident I can go with my darks first. I see it on the what I left underneath. And here I'm using again that chromatic black, just to get this, fix the drawing a little bit better. And let's just establish this here. That's it. All right. Everything else is gonna go away from black. So I'm back to my raw umber and Indian red. So it's kind of like a burnt umber. You can say it's a reddish umber. But when you mix it with Indian red or English red, um, it's it's more opaque. So it does give you the color plus opacity, which I want here, because now I want to cover more. All right, this little fellow has got a little bit of a smile. And this needs to be a lot more, a lot less pigment on it. So there, almost barely. It's mostly medium. And the top of the nose. All right. So I did have that base color underneath, and that helps a lot. I like to see it through. Maybe I'll just take some of this out. There. All right, and we're gonna get a mid-tone of the nose. Which is I'm using some cadmium orange here with a bit of white and That's it. Just a little bit of white, just to offset the color, the the chroma. I want some chroma, but not too much. Not the way it comes from right out of the tube for sure. No, that's a little bit too much. All right, and here. All right. Okay, so now these two sides are the same. They have the same value. So I need to darken this side, and for that I'm going to use a bit of viridian green because it's the complementary of red, and so I know that this side needs to be, so red and green, they cancel each other out, and it turns into this interesting brown. I'll bring it here. Okay. And with that same combo, I'll put some viridian and a bit of chromatic black for this line here. And there. Very diffuse edge, right? I want a diffuse edge here. And here's the terminator. Yeah. Okay, this is the fun part. I'm gonna lift the highlight. And the highlight is going to be somewhere between it's kind of a pale orange color of white, maybe Naples yellow, and an orange and cadmium orange. And I don't want, it's a sharp edge where it meets with the shadow. There. And it's going to blend into the color here. Notice I don't use a fan brush for blending or anything like that. I think these brushes can just, if I see a little bit of the brush strokes, I enjoy that. So, and this is kind of a ball here. There. And last but not least, let's put a bit of white here. Pure white, almost pure. It'll never be pure because it's mixing with the color underneath, but there. Maybe I'll accentuate this edge. Okay. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. Let me erase this just a tad. It's a little bit too dark. Put a little bit more chroma in it. And some of this alizarin and cadmium orange here. That is the nose. That is the nose. All right, so let me get some of that orange color here. There. With a bit of texture there. All right. All right, now this part has the fur and shadow. So what color is going to be my fur and shadow? I will say it's white and purple. Remember that mixture? The mixture I had with Naples yellow and purple. I'm gonna push it more towards the purple. And that's going to be the color of the fur and shadow. Now that's way too much, way too bright. You can see there. So let me add a little bit of this chromatic black to it. And turn into more of a grayish. Yeah, that's a little bit better. Again, I'm not sure about the color right now, but at least I know that I'll get the value closer to what I need. And I know that this value is lighter than this value, and that's important right now for me. It's gotta be lighter than this, but darker than this, right? So this part of the face can come forward, even though that this side is in shadow. Nobody said that painting was easy, huh? Okay. All right. So I have this mixture of purple. It's kind of like a grayish, purplish. I think I do want to lean it more towards the blue, because the more I think about it, the more that this side is going to be towards the yellows. So I think that will be a good, nice contrast. And the nose is usually, so I'm gonna push this with more purple and maybe a little bit of ultramarine. I think I have to be very careful with this, because ultramarine will make this, will tint this really quickly. But I think this is good. All right, it's hard to perceive on camera, but there is color here. There's color. All right, and let's do a little bit of shaping here. Let me get my shadow brush. that purple thing going here. A few highlights as it's turning from light to dark. Okay, so and here's maybe some more darks. Here's a lot darker here. So here I can use that chromatic black. There. All right, I want to make sure I don't lose my anatomy. Oops, maybe too much there. I don't want to lose my anatomy here, so. And with a lighter shade of a purple, I'm just going to draw the smile. All right. Yes, a bit of a smile. And as it turns into the light, we'll make that smile. We'll put some more Naples yellow here and we'll make it more illuminated. There. So I get this really interesting play between purples and yellows here. Reminds me of Vermeer. If you ever seen Vermeer's walls, it's all a combination of purples and yellows. And here is where it transitions, where the light turns. All right, does that make sense or not? How about this line? Maybe I'll use a smaller brush for this. Okay. Okay, I have a feeling that this needs to go darker here. Put some more black here. All right, I'm not gonna sweat this area too much, just because it's hard to see it before I put the rest of the colors here. But one thing I could do that can help me a little bit more, it's I'll get my raw umber and Indian red here and just define it here. And then I know how dark this is going to be approximately. May not be the right color, but approximately. There. There. All right. That makes it stand out. And define this area. Purple. Just a little more purple. Maybe some ultramarine here. And a bit of red, raw umber, Again, let me define the edge here. For this edge, it is very important to work wet on wet. So this edge is important to be smooth. All right, and in here, I'm just gonna be brave and throw some light there. I mean, this is all a preamble for how do I paint the fur. These are all being attempts. I did an attempt on the eye and an attempt here. So here's my next attempt on getting the right color. I'm just gonna be brave because these are the moments when things can go south and not get the right color or the right temperature. Is it important? I mean, from a technical aspect, it is. I know that the overall idea that I'm trying to convey may not change much, but from a technical point, I think it is. So I always try to go the safe route, and I know the purples, yellows, and purples and blues, they harmonize together. So that's kind of like a safe zone. All right, so how dark this is going to be? Certainly darker than this. And but I can't go pure white over here. I'll show you what pure white would look like here. So that's pure white, right? So I'm way on the lower scale, but it still feels illuminated, if you know what I mean. Okay, how far do I carry the smile? He looks like a pretty happy fellow here, so maybe we'll give him a good grin here. All right. All right. So this is turning here. So some texture, a little more texture. Maybe I'll use the palette knife. All right. I'm gonna leave the nose alone for now. And we're gonna move on to the ear. All right, let's move on to the ear. You can take a glimpse of the gold leaf. Okay. All right. So as you recall, there was this shadow here this shadow that I decided to forgo. I didn't put it here. Uh, I did not like that shadow. So now the ear is getting the light from behind. So what does that mean? That there's going to be some blood flow here going on. And that's the first thing I'm going to establish. That's the first thing I'm going to establish because that's going to mandate the rest of the values. I'm going to clean up my rack. And so I'm going to stick with the same colors that I've been using with my cadmium orange, just for the sake of unity. And just to keep my colors, you know, just to keep them, keep a small palette. All right. So that's a pretty powerful red there. So we'll have some here. All right. Okay, is that too intense? I don't think so. I think it's surrounded by shadows, so I don't think it's too intense. I have this, my eyes right now is just traveling this way, and maybe this is its way out. So I always like to have a little bit of red in all my paintings. I think red is very attractive as a color. And this is going to, I'm gonna put some of that here because it's gonna spill over here. All right. That's the intensity that I'm gonna have. I'm not gonna have it to be more intense than that. Here I am going to be doing a shadow first. Again, I'm back into my mixture, my raw umber Indian red mixture. Very transparent. On the application, it's transparent. Here, I know it's darker here. This edge is going to be darker. You know, maybe it's a little more black here. And maybe here. Okay. All right. You know, sometimes you should go for your intuition. It feels to me that I should put some green here. put some viridian green there. Why? I don't know. My intuition tells me that it needs to balance all this heat. There's a lot of heat here, so I need to balance it out. And maybe use the same here, a little bit of green here. All right. Let's work on the fur. We're gonna put more texture on it. I will make my mixture on the palette instead of mixing it on the canvas. That's usually my preferred method. So yellow ochre, some white, some orange. Let me throw some umber here, some raw umber here. And let's see what happens. All right, I don't like this mixture. I'm gonna use my dark brush and a little bit darker, just that teeny bit darker. Let me add some black here. So here's the thing, this is tricky because it's a, I haven't painted the rest, right? I'm only focusing on a small area, and this is one of the traps that sometimes you may encounter, that as you focus on this area, you may feel that that's okay right now with all this, but once you go and to look at the general picture, you're like, wait a minute, this ear in comparison to this, is way too light. So it is something that you have to think about. Oh, that's much better. When you're doing this, you know what? I'm gonna use a palette knife. I think this calls for a palette knife here. All right, all this process of painting with a palette knife is very, very intuitive. It's almost, I'm at the mercy of God, if you will. I made some mistakes. Some parts may work, some may not. Some of them may be accidents. Palette knife is almost like there's not a lot of control, but there is a lot of texture there, and I kind of like that. Whatever's left, I can work with my brush here. All right, now I have to think about in terms of the fur, which way is the fur going. So it's kind of like going in this direction. All right, and there's a lot of, this edge is so interesting. And in here, I'm gonna go deeper, darker here with some Indian red here. lot of things happening here. Very abstract. Very, very abstract. I like it. I like it. I'm not complaining. I'll be honest. I mean, sometimes I, I, I feel like I'm just jumping on the pool and on the deep end, and I don't know which way it's gonna go. But today, I feel that it's going well. It's going in the right direction. Tomorrow, I don't know. I may change my mind tomorrow, but so far, I think I'm happy with this, with the result. Okay, that's kind of like my mid-tone there. All right. I am going to start making the transition between the light that is coming into the dark. So, I'm going to introduce some yellow, Naples yellow, maybe, no, maybe not. That makes it in here in my palette, or maybe yellow ochre, because the Naples yellow is charged with white, so don't want that. All right. I mean, in the picture, you can see how there's light here. There's a little bit of light here, and mine is flat completely. So, let's see. Let's see. My brush is pretty loaded here now with paint. This is very pastel-like. I think it needs to be lighter, but it's better to go lighter in steps, I will say. And since I'm building this and I am enjoying this texture, I don't mind putting more paint on top. It's a little bit lighter. It's maybe 10% lighter. Probably hard to see on the camera, but I think it's less risky. All right, bit lighter, some more yellow, and a bit of white, just a tiny bit. And my yellow, it's a little bit too strong, so I'm gonna offset it with some purple. All right, I have that mixture here in my palette, and let's see, how's that? Yeah, I think I can live with that. Subtle variation as I get close to the edge. It has a lot more color because once you get hit by the light, you get more color until the light starts burning you. But it's still very subtle in comparison to everything else, right? There's light, but not a lot. Let's work with this here. Okay, and maybe here. Okay, and on the edge. Right here, right on the edge. All right. Same color, a bit more white. Let's see what happens. Um, I will say, 10% lighter. Maybe 20% lighter. Very intuitive. I mean, there's no way that I can measure this. I mean, I know that some people, work with photographs and they get those color pickers, but to me, this is a more. I like to train my eye to be more accurate. If I mess it up in this painting, I'll get it right on the next one, and that's how you train your eye. I don't see any other using too many tools to measure and things. It just it leaves you handicapped when you're outdoors and when if you're painting plein air or if you want to quick sketch something, because you feel that you need to have all of your tools at your disposal in order to create something, and it should be simpler than that. I don't think uh, some of the most beautiful paintings that I've seen, especially primitive paintings, they didn't have a lot of tools at their disposal, and then there was a lot of intuition and understanding and training your eye. I think that's the word. Training your eye to see. It may not be perfect, right? I will not get it maybe on the first one. Maybe I'll get it on the next one. But that is okay. That is okay. I can make 100 paintings of lambs and and what's an artist but just one painting, right? I mean, what's Vermeer but just the milkmaid, or Michelangelo but just the Sistine Chapel or David? So, in the search for the perfect piece of art, this is part of the process. That's my 2 cents. I think it's part of also. It's an exploration, right? It's an alchemical experiment. You're mixing, you're pushing and pulling and trying new things. Now, I'm not saying the tools are not important. I mean, I think tools are very important. But art and painting in general is not a science. I mean, uh, I think for the rational mind, you can try to make sense of it somehow. But what's the difference between putting this brush stroke here or just putting it right next to it? That there's no science on that, except that at one point it just feels that it's right, and it feels right. And how do you know when it feels right? It's intuition. I think that's the best way I can put it. It's intuition. Okay. Here is going to be the same as in the purples here, because this part it's in shadow and it doesn't get much sun here. I'm liking this. I am liking this. Or should I do the edge first? Okay, let's do the let's do the ring light. Okay, let's do the ring light so I can feel happy about it. So I can feel like I'm making progress. It feels like it's something completed. Rim light, here's my Naples yellow, which I already used here, and, and I'm gonna use it here. Okay. And I'm going over my gold leaf the way that I wanted it. All right. People ask me, gold leaf first, painting first. I think it varies. I think it varies. It's a combination of things. Um, there are moments where the gold leaf has to go second. Um, I do prefer I prefer to do gold leaf second, but then I have to be more careful and when I take care of the painting and I have to be careful on where I put the painting and make sure that the gold leaf doesn't get any paint and so it's caring for it that more than than the process of how do I care for it in a way that it doesn't damage it because while I'm doing this I have to live with this painting for a few days before I finish it and then if I use it for a show or an exhibition it's gonna stay with me for a little longer so I it's it's easier to do the gold leaf last because it's easier to repair an oil painting than repairing gold leaf in my estimation. Uh, all right. All right, so it's all Naples yellow, and I'm gonna get into the fun part right now. And this is going to be straight white. And again, it's never pure white because my brush is it already has some Naples yellow on it. So, but here it's a lot of paint. It's a lot of paint. I could use a palette knife. I like texture. Um my approach has never been a photographic reproduction. I I like painting. I like to see paint when I'm painting on any masterpiece. I love to see paint. Yeah. Just how you can trick the eye and make something look like something else. Yeah. Okay, I'm stopping here because this is going to be a different type of light. Um, all right. This is going to be in a similar shape, similar tones. So I may I may glaze at the end. I may if I see that it's not the right tonality here, I may glaze some umbers on top just to push it back. I mean, see how dark this is here versus this, but maybe not. Maybe not. I'll make that decision later. This is probably a little bit too strong now. Yeah. This is probably a little bit too strong. Leave it like that for now. But the green works. I like the color. I do like the color. All right, we're at that 80-minute mark. I'm going to grab a cup of water and take a not 5 minutes. That'll be too long. Maybe a minute break, just to grab a cup of water and look at my painting from far, because I haven't done that. I'm sitting right now, so I don't know how it looks from far, and that's going to be important for me right now. Let me move that out of the way. Okay, so immediately, well, let me zoom out. This, in the, here it's hard to see on the video, but this is fire, and that's fire. And is that going to be a problem down the line? Is that going to be where my eye will go when I look at the painting for the first time? I don't know. I'm gonna leave it like that for now. I can tone it down if I need to later on. So that's the only problem I see further down the line. But I don't know. I mean, it's because then what's gonna happen here? All that, there's gonna be a lot of light there. So who knows? Who knows? Painting sometimes it's a mystery. It's a journey. You set out to look for something, and you ended up finding something else. So, okay, I gotta be careful with the gold leaf and not put the tape on top of the gold leaf. All right. So here I'm gonna use some of my shadow mixture here. This is going to be on the cooler side here. I'm right on the edge of the gold leaf. And here I'm gonna go for those purples, because it's all gonna be in shadow. And maybe those ultramarine, with the ultramarine and white, bring that texture here. And I'm gonna emphasize the fur. And maybe make some of those little trails here. All right. These are all, they're not like that necessarily in real life, those lines, trails, but I'm here being more symbolic. Um, so it just tells the viewer that that's how, that there is a direction to it. And here on the edge, I'm gonna go back with my palette knife here. And a little bit with the brush. Okay. That's it for now, for that part. Uh, I think the other ear will be a lot easier. I think the other ear will be a lot easier. Let's jump in into the other ear. And I'm gonna work on this area, and I think I'm gonna work on this area, and that will be, I think I could stop there, because once I know how to treat this area, then it'll be easier for me to do the rest, and for you too if you're following along. I don't expect people to follow this along, but just get clues onto how to approach each individual section of the painting, um, because the most convenient thing for someone to learn how to paint something like this is find your own lamp picture, let's say, and then and look at it the way that I've been mentioning it. That way is your own creation, and also, but also it's with a similar approach, if that makes sense. Okay. I'm going to be less. I'm going to try to go a little bit faster here. And here I know that all this is in shadow. Actually, I'm going to move the canvas more this way. Okay. There. All right now I'm only looking at this value. See how dark compared to, this is way darker. So I would probably going to have to tone this down. Maybe, maybe. Not sure yet. But I have it in the back of my mind. So as long as I keep it in the back of my mind, I think it's fine. Okay. And then again, I have this mixture that I had for this prior, and I'm gonna treat this a lot looser than what's going on here. And just because this is not going to have the same priority or hierarchy than the rest of the elements of the painting. And that and what do I mean by that? That these ears, the one that's turning further away, it, it has less of a value. I don't want to focus my eye on this. I don't need to bring everything in focus. Here's here's the important thing. This, not so much. So even the edge here, I think meets with the gold leaf. It's not in. It's not as it's secondary or a complement to whatever is happening on this side. All right, so that's that. Maybe a little bit dark here. And then the fur, this is going to be on the bluish tonality. All right. So less texture, if you notice. No palette knife. Almost a transparent, you can see what's underneath. And the underpainting, that's what I mean. The underpainting, you can see what's right under. All right. And how about this? Okay. Okay. That's my signature that is telling people that that's not so important without being rude. Okay. It's me saying, don't look over here too much. This is not important. Look at the eye of the lamb. Look into its eye. All right. Here, and I'll give you, the viewer, just a taste of enjoyment here with this highlight. That's it. Like an hors d'oeuvre. Just one hors d'oeuvre right there. That's all you're gonna get. You don't need anything else. Because everything is happening here. This is what's important. All right. And last, we're going to go here. I've only used, as I mentioned, linseed oil as my medium. And all right, back again, get some dark here. This is why I love these brushes. Look, I can use the whole thing, and you know, and and it pairs to, it will be, it can cover so fast, so much so fast. I'm gonna, put a little bit of blue on this hair. Just because it's going to be this is going to be all in shadow. So, okay, as I get closer to the eye, I need to be ever so careful for my transition between what's messy and what's not messy, or what's loose and what's tight. Uh, all right, and I'm gonna work the fur top to bottom. The fur is gonna go from, I'm gonna work from the top to the bottom, and it's going to have those beautiful blue type of few tones and colors. All right. All right, so it's almost 100 minutes, and I, I, I should confess that I am tired. But it's, I usually go in 45 minutes first, and then take a 10-minute break and whatnot. But this recording is pushing me to my limits, which I think is a good thing. I think it's a good thing. All right, let me see. All right. This is the direction of the fur. This is going to be just my first pass, okay? My shadows usually are more thin and transparent than my lights. So I'm building it one on top of the other one. And I'll try to get the, right now it's all about the values. It's not necessarily how precise this code of fur is, but it's just about the value. So maybe a little bit too high in chroma, so I'm gonna use some black, just lower that, and put a little bit of Naples yellow too on it, because it certainly does have some light in it. Not a lot, but it's in the shadow, but there's light in the shadow. So it's you think that this painting it looks simple in theory, but there's a lot of going on in the lights, and I see that this fur, the hair is in this direction. Now I'm not the type of painter that uses tiny little brushes to do fur and all that stuff. I don't. To me, it's more about the effect. Rather, here I'll put some warmth here, because why not? I'll put some warmth in between. So that combination of warmth, I think I put a little bit too much here. That combination of warmth and cools, it just makes it. I like the way it makes it feel. All right, so I will work on this shadow a little bit more in this shadow area, but for now this is good indication of the fur and the color that's gonna go. I am going to throw the light here. So I know that there's some dark going on there. And so very thin, very almost like dry brush. And I'm gonna use and make sure that I had here, but pump it up a little bit. So I can bring some light in with some Naples yellow, because I am going to have something going on with Naples yellow. All right, so all right, here's the edge of the gold leaf and the painting, the painted part of the oils, and put some. Okay, so here in the transition, I'm gonna go a little slower here and more deliberate on where I place the color. So now, see, I had this shadow thing going on here, but I'm just completely overriding it. And same thing here. And maybe I'll put some, this is a palette knife here for this. All right, so now I can, how do I know what to do here? I mean, how do I solve this? And one of the ways I usually go about it is that I look at how this edge was here. And that tells me that if in the right light conditions, this edge will form here. So that's what I go by. And I know it's a sharp edge. And so I can be sharp here. Oops, I gotta be careful here. And something here again. Here, I'm gonna be a little bit more deliberate. I know that there's a bone structure here. There's a bone here, so there's more light here. Now, is this? Am I done with the fur? No, I'm not. This is my first pass. I'm gonna come back with my palette knife and I'm gonna build the texture here. But for now, this is going to be a good base. And there's something really beautiful about these blues and the yellow, how they mix. I really enjoy that. This is more of a pure white here. And I want to see how it looks just like that. Maybe I'll put some with my palette knife here. I know that here is where most of the light will hit. All right, here I can't, when I'm tired, like after this session, let's say, here's where I have to be very careful because I tend to just go fast and speed up and just to finish so I can rest. But it's better to just take my time here. And I know that even if I make a mistake, this is not the end of the world. I'm going to come back and work on it. but a lot of the majority of the mistakes happen here when my body feels tired of painting. And I think for the next video I'm gonna stand. I think that the whole stretching my arm makes it a little more complicated. So, all right, look at that. I kind of like to see what's underneath. Yes, that's a good base. That's a very good base. Yes, I love it. All right, I'm gonna finish this. I'm not gonna record this, but I'm gonna finish this part and then leave it like that. And on the next video, I will finish the whole body. And if this is dry, I will start working on putting more paint on top of it and building texture. All right. Well, thanks very much for watching.